I'm about to tell you guys all of the information that you need to know as a consumer or investor as it pertains to what the heck is going on with new home construction. Now, it's incredibly important to pay attention to this data set for two reasons. Number one, it's our primary source at this point of new inventory. And number two, the metro areas that have massive clusters of new home construction are the leading metro areas of price decline for existing homes. And so today we're going to go over all of those details. You can see to the left of me, Lennar apparently is trying to ditch several of their new houses. Now this is in the Austin area and also in Texas. You can see 40, 50, $60,000 price cuts, and the price points, you guys, are $200,000 and below. Now, you guys may remember, and we'll talk about it in this video, but new home builders have changed all of the buckets for median prices to show no decline. But again, once I go to this map, it paints a different story. And the question is, what's really going on? Welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. Today's video is going to be absolutely bonkers. Now, the data is in and I have accumulated a massive amount of information to give you guys all of the details that I believe that you need to know as a consumer to avoid any potential toxic deals, any potential traps as a consumer, because you guys, if you've been watching me, you know this, there are many. Starting with permits pulled, I'm going to give you guys the last decade view on all of these charts, the last decade being the last 10 years. So right now we had a month over month surge actually in permits. You guys can see again, month over month, it was a surge going up to 1.45 million from 1.39 million, which means month over month, guys, we have roughly 51,000 more permits. Now, I also think it's interesting, and I'll do a comparison on the current data versus December 2019 and January of 2015, so we can kind of figure out where are we at as far as historical norms. So when we look back at December 2019, we actually are kind of tied to where we're at with permits. But when we go all the way back here, you guys, to January of 2015, you guys see January 2015, we had 1.04 million permits being pulled. The reason I bring that up is when we compare 2015 to right now, we have 401,000 more permits being pulled, which is massive growth from about 10 years ago. Total housing units started, once again, a month over month increase. You see that right here. Now the increase is from 1.31 million to 1.35 million. That's about 40,000 more units that have been started month over month. But again, when we go back to December 2019, just to do a quick comparison, I'm doing 2019 because that was really before the craziness started happening. So it's actually much lower than 2019, you guys. December 2019, we actually had 1.54 million. That's actually down almost 200,000. But when we go all the way back, and this is why I think this is important, to January 2015, 10 years ago, we were building 1.08 million, or rather we started 1.08 million. So right now, when we look at the numbers, when we scratch beyond the surface, we know that there are roughly 270,000 more units that have been started. And y'all, I go hard in this data because if we're just going to look at surface level results, you're going to get surface level analysis, surface level opinions. And so we got to go much deeper. Let's keep going. This is an absolute beast right here. This is homes under construction. Now it's down month over month. You can see that. So a slight reduction down from 1.58 million to 1.56 million. This represents only about 20,000 less unit started. But look at this, guys. When we go back all the way to December 2019, we had 1.17 million. So that's 490,000, again, 409, almost 500,000 more units that are under construction right now compared to December 2019. That is a significant increase of units under construction. But when we go back all the way to January 2015, it gets really crazy, you guys. So January 2015, we actually had 830,000. So that's a difference of what? Roughly over 600,000 more units that have started right now. That is a huge difference. Now, remember, you guys, this also includes apartments. Once I've removed that information out and I'm only looking at single family units, this is what we see. So right now, again, just like the last chart, that is down month over month by only 9,000. But again, don't freak out. It is going down. These are single family residents, but remember where we came from. I always say that. December 2019, they only started construction on 520,000 units. So that's a massive amount of growth. When we go all the way back to January of 2015, they had 362,000. That's a difference of 300,000 thousand units. So in 10 years, they've almost doubled. But again, we are off of peak. When we peaked, we were in June 2022. We had 829,000 single family units started. So that has been trending down. But again, when we look at the historical 10 years, it's still way up. This information just updated right now. You should be reviewing this video about an hour after I'm recording this. Now, it stayed flat. It actually revised downward. They had May at 9.3. They revised that downward to 9.1. You guys should know that they are constantly revising data because this data is straight garbage. They gathered this data from a survey, guys, a survey. And we know we can't trust people that have financial bias. We've learned that by now. But regardless, we have 9.3 months. That is now. I want to make a point at that 9.3 months. We've had over 6 months of sustained supply with new homes for over 2 years, making it an extreme buyer's market. And as a result of that oversupply, that's why we see the prices of new homes going down so much. Now, they've recently changed pricing buckets to manipulate median, and I'll get into that in a minute. And it's very, very disappointing because they don't give us as public and citizens enough data to make informed decisions. When they manipulate data and change pricing buckets, especially in price points that most Americans can afford, all you're doing is manipulating the very people that need your help. The data providers need to learn how to be fair. They need to just give us raw data. Just give us the raw data. But nevertheless, you guys, the second thing I want to say is all of this information is underreported. I've been traveling around the nation with Melody Wright as well for the last year and a half, reporting on this. Some of these subdivisions are underreporting inventory by 2 to 3 times the amount. And that is exactly the reason why we have price decline in high cluster areas, especially around Texas, because that oversupply starts affecting existing home price. And I'm talking about existing homes, you guys. New homes is its own thing. That's what we're going over right now. But new homes are in such dire shape, and you can't tell by the stock. I'll show you that in a minute, but it's in such bad shape. Again, it's affecting the prices of existing homes. When we jump back in here and we look at median sales price for new homes, this was revised again. So for the last 3 months, they actually revised all last 3 months downward. I have a chart to show you. Personally, I'm getting sick and tired of this, but regardless, you guys, it's now saying that new home prices are $417,300. Now, again, it looks like it went up. Okay, you guys see that? It looks like it went up, but it actually went down because in May, it actually said $417,400. What they do, y'all, is they continue to manipulate these numbers so that their stock prices continue all-time highs. When we look at the supply, when we look at the inventory, we know that demand is nowhere near keeping pace with the amount of homes that they're building. But take a look at the revisions because I did track that. Y'all see here, this was June 26th report. So this was last month's report and it reported on May. What I want to point out, let me zoom in here because it was the last 3 months. So May, originally, you guys, they had May at a median sales price of $417,400. But when this recent set of data came out, they actually reduced that down to $407,100, making it a reduction. It's always downward, by the way, because remember, they're overly optimistic and they're foolish, and it shows in this data, and you guys should know that by now. But the difference, you guys, is $10,300. Now, that may not sound like a lot to you, but if it's me and I just bought a house, $10,000 could be everything. Let's go back to April. Just like May, April was also revised downward. Now, originally it was listed at $417,900 median. Now, once this data came out today, they revised that downward to $413,600, which means it was a downward reduction of $4,300. When it's always downward reductions, we can safely come to the conclusion that what we see here is massive financial bias. Because if it wasn't, we would have revisions both up and down. But the fact is, guys, is that is not what is happening. It looks like what the trend is they revise the last 3 months when a new report comes out, and the revisions are a little bit less and less and less. But again, we're going to start tracking this so I can really tell you guys, hey, they are trying to keep us blinded to what's going on, but you guys don't have to be blinded. We just have to follow the data, and it's pretty easy to come to the same conclusion, which is they are manipulating this info. But regardless, this is March. Now, March, I didn't even put the before and after because it was only a difference of $500. But again, I think it's very interesting. And also, you guys, I think it's very important that I start staying on top of this in a lot more detail because I really want to understand how much are they really manipulating this data, because it seems like a lot of manipulation is going on right now. Do y'all agree? And this is just with new homes. I see it also with Redfin all the time. I want to give you guys a couple reminders as to what type of manipulation is going on exactly. Now, remember, you guys, they've recently changed all of their pricing buckets for median sales price. When you do that, you cannot come up with a true median, and you get to change the narrative in whatever way you want. And so what I wanted to show you guys is right now, you guys see the old pricing buckets from a few months ago. And I want to point out that the last three pricing buckets have basically been combined into one. So anything $300,000 and below is now just one pricing bucket. Now, I don't know about you guys, but my price point and most people's price point is in the 300,000s, possibly below. Just depends on taxes and insurance and things like that, how much money you're making, what you qualify for. But in my opinion, they have remove the price buckets for what most Americans are paying attention to. Here's the after, you guys. They've put all of those three pricing buckets into this one, so that has less bearing now on median. And what they did is they separated these four pricing buckets right here, which may be a little bit more stable because it's the higher end of the median. I don't think that's fair. When they change pricing buckets, let me show you what happens to the trajectory. The top one is before, where it shows clear price decline because it separates out 300, 200, 150, the lower end, the end that most Americans are concerned about. They've removed that. And what you get is this bottom chart here that basically shows a flat line. It basically shows that prices aren't going up, but they're also not going down. When we have buckets that they've been using for the last decade, we have a clear indication of this price decline. Y'all see it yourselves. Another thing I want to remind you guys about what's going on with new home sales right now is the seller concession concerns. This was a report by Freddie Mac that was issued December of 2023. And I want to tell you guys real quick, I will have a separate video for this. I have 3 brand new home appraisals. All 3 of them, guys, are from Lennar. And guess what? All 3 appraisals have comparable data in there that show seller concessions without a reduction in value. In fact, one of the three appraisals shows comps, all 3 comps showing seller concessions. But again, the appraiser fails to make the adjustments. And before you say Lennar has no control over bearing, yeah, they do. They have a lot of control over the bearing because they supply, number 1, the comps, and number 2, and this is just as an example, okay? As an example, Lennar owns Lennar Mortgage. Lennar Mortgage orders the appraisal, and a lot of times these lenders own what's called an AMC, okay? An AMC is an appraisal management company. And so if they own an appraisal management company, and now you're telling me that they have no bearing on prices, but yet almost every single appraisal report I get, according to Fannie Mae, is not done correctly. Is that fraud? I don't know. I mean, I think it's, again, you guys, I'm going to do another report on this, but let me just quickly read what Freddie Mac says. And again, I just want to reassure you that almost every appraisal I get appears to be value fraud. The price represents the normal consideration for the property sold, unaffected by special or creative financing or sales concessions. And here's the big thing, guys, granted by anyone associated with the sale. So if the lender, Lennar Mortgage, is offering massive seller contributions like they are right here, you see this here, okay, 4.25% interest rate, that's well below market, $6,000 towards closing costs. This is an example of seller concessions that need to be reported to the appraiser, and the appraiser needs to make the appropriate adjustments, but they're not. And here's the other shocking thing, guys, the market just doesn't care. So you can't tell me that the market's not foolishly greedy and recklessly optimistic, because their stock is almost at an all-time high. And people are like, oh, you're wrong, Travis, because look at their stocks. I don't care that their stock is all-time high. That just means to me it will fall even more. And it also shows me and demonstrates to me that there is an overwhelming amount of people, specifically the people that are buying houses, that are going to be absolutely blindsided, guys. And you don't have to be. You don't have to be. You can push pause. You can stop. You can do research. You can really ask yourself, does Travis have a point? Are they manipulating data? Are prices really going up? And if you bought a home recently, did you do a subdivision analysis? You didn't. I want you to, though. I want you to do a subdivision analysis so you really understand, are you getting a great deal? Is it a value that you're walking into? Or are you walking into a 10-year financial prison? Which one is it? The last thing I want to remind you guys is how biased and unrealistic all of this data is. Because remember, you guys, we get new home data from the Census Bureau, United States Census Bureau. Again, we get the data from a survey. I mean, seriously, comment below if that drives you crazy. It drives me crazy. We got AI, we got all kinds of stuff. And for some reason, the Census Bureau trusts these people. I don't get it. But look at guys, even in their own notes, I just want to read this for you because some people like Travis, they track everything. They don't even come close to tracking everything. I would be surprised if they tracked over 50%. But regardless, this is what this says. The total quality response rate for these estimates is 76%. At best, they're missing 24% of the piece of pie. This data here, you guys, is absolute garbage. The lack of regulation and the lack of transparency when it comes to regulations and operations with new home sales puts consumers in an unnecessary risk. And I'm here once again to warn you of exactly that. Now, other than that, guys, if you like this video, hit like, share it, comment below. And other than that, if you're out there investing in real estate, you guys already know, I wish you luck and I hope you win.